Well, howdy there, partner, and welcome to Rope Blasters, the only podcast for trick shooters, snipers, marksmen, and general duelists. I'm your host, Gunsmoke O'Kenzie, and this is the show where we talk about shooting the ropes that hold the trick shots together. You know, we blasting ropes today, baby. That's right. And today on the show, we got a shotgun enthusiast who has found a new way to bring the sniper rifle to the buckshot. We got him here today, folks. We got him. His name is Kevin Saltpeter Day. What is up, Kevin?
I'm doing good. I'm a big fan of the sniper rifle. I like to perch, in various places with it, trees, rooftops, that kind of thing. And, that's really who I am.
And let's just talk about it. I think it's ingenious because, the problem with a shotgun is there's so many trajectories that come off of this buckshot. And what you've done cleverly is, a sniper rifle is all about the scope. And so you've made a million tiny scopes at the exact trajectories that each buckshot ball is liable to fly, so that you can snipe up to 27 targets at once with your compound scope, which you say is based on the butterfly eye. Is that correct?
It is. It's one of those things where you trade off accuracy for impact. It's. Mm-hmm. I don't care who I'm hitting when I'm on a rooftop firing off. So I just blast. I'm just blasting away.
Well, when you're on the rooftop with a shotgun and you're blasting away, you're not picking who you're hitting. You're hitting everyone who's there. It's just it's gonna be coming down.
It's all about the efficiency.
Oh man. Okay, so that's our show. Let's
I'm on
go
a list.
to our sponsor, the Sig Sauer. Is that one?
I think so.
Man, I was just thinking that it was like, haha, shooting off the roof, and then I was like, that's like a shooting. Making light of mass shootings, and then I was thinking that was just fine. I mean, it's fine. It's great. Everybody should do this. The thing is, I was thinking about it, and it made me thinking. I think the last episode I mentioned really offhanded, like something like really like mass shooting jokey, and then I like realized it was like on the day that like something horrible happened, and then I was like, I mean. That's every day now. You can't just be all like, oh, is today a day that a mass shooting happened and I shouldn't make the joke, because that's going to be every day. It's not like it's more offensive to treat it with the gravity of I have to look it up, because it's like, no, you're going to find it if you look it up. It's going to be there. So just live your life knowing that that's the case. And if you wouldn't make the joke knowing that, then don't make the joke. But me, apparently I would. So, I don't know. What's up, Kevin? How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's it's nice to be back to this. I missed this last week when we didn't end up doing this, so I'm glad we're back.
Yeah, it was yeah. Well, I don't know. You still gotta watch the movie Stutz. I assume you haven't watched it. I mean,
I haven't yet. No,
it's a good assumption. I'm a genius. But yeah, I want to rewatch it. But I was just thinking, one of the things I forgot to talk about was like the shadow work. Because I talked about the shadow. I should like look this up. Let me see if I can find this. God damn it, Kevin, you're gonna have to fill.
Okay. All right. So Spencer's filling while we're talking about a movie I haven't seen. I'm filling while we're talking about a movie I haven't seen, which is a little difficult, but it's that's on my very short list of things I am going to watch. So I'm looking forward to seeing that, and I'm looking forward to how you're going to build the hype up right now to convince me that I need to watch this as the moment that we're done recording this show. Because
all right, here's the thing. The thing is, I think it's like, okay, so again, Stutz, the movie, psychology, it's about therapy. It's about therapy's good. It talks about psychological tools, therapy tools that I think would be good to learn. I think And my whole thing is I say things that I think would be good to know. In lieu of a personality, I have a popcorn machine that spits out things that I hope will benefit people, and I hope they'll think that's close enough to a personality. That's what I have. And this is more of that. So one of the things, and it's really powerful, we talked about the shadow. So the shadow is a psychological concept. It's the part of you that you deny and that you hide from yourself, and the part of you that you hate about yourself, like your construct of what sucks about you. Like if you think of like, a hypothetical great person that you would aspire to be to, this is like the hypothetical like failure that you are to be that person or something, and shadow work. So he talked about shadow work, and they did it in the movie. And I was watching the movie with my friend Jeff, and I was listening to him talk about what to do with the shadow work. And man, I was watching it and I was like, I got to do this. There's another exercise, I think, earlier in the movie, and I was like, I'll do this right now. And I did it along with him. And I was like, this is great. But then the shadow work, I was like, this is going to fuck me up. I can't do this because I'm watching this movie with Jeff. Like I'm not Jeff Davis, but I have a friend named Jeff E. And I'm watching it with him, and I can't do this right now. Otherwise I'll like start crying or something, So I waited until I was driving home, and I was doing it driving home, and it still really fucked me up. And so I don't know. I think it's worth doing. But I was thinking I might be able to do it and make myself cry on podcast, which is interesting because I don't think I can generally make myself cry. And, maybe I can be an actor now if I could master this. Okay. So, first of all, you gotta define your shadow. You visualize it. It says here, visualize a time in your life when you felt inferior, embarrassed, or rejected. But it's about figuring out what your shadow is, which in part comes from earlier in the movie. They talk about part X, which is, your negative self-talk. And that's a large part of what kind of helps you define what your shadow is. But so it's just, what do you hate about yourself? What's the worst part of you that when you're self-destructing, what does your brain go to? What failures and stuff? And so, for me, it's I'm unlovable, it's I'm small, it's I'm oafish and crude, ugly, gross. No one ever wants to be around me. Everyone's just being nice to try and be like, no one actually inherently wants to be around me. Like I'm clumsy, I make things worse, I cause a lot of harm, etc. That's a big part of it. Just like, unlovable, causing damage, just bad. And then a big part of like the shadow work is the idea that you can't get rid of it. And so so like a lot of times what we do is we go like, no, that's not true, that's not what I am, and that doesn't really do anything about it because it's this very strong oppositional thing that just it doesn't like break through or whatever. So what he said in the movie is like, talk to your shadow, ask them how they feel about how you try to deal with them, because you have the shadow that you're hiding from the world, right? That's what it is. Again, I'm unlovable, I'm a shitty person, and so when I go out, I try to hide that person by trying to do things that I think might be lovable, etc. Be smart. Oh, that's another big one. This is stupid for me. So like trying to be smart is like cutting against that. So it's like ask him how he feels with you, dealt with him, see, and it's like and it's just like trying to hide this part of you. It just like how do you feel about denying this part of you? And it's like it feels bad. It feels like I'm hating a part of myself. It feels like I'm hating who I am, and it feels like it's just like an excuse to beat up on it. And then it says the next step is like ask the shadow how it feels about being treated that way. And it's like of course, I feel awful. I do feel unloved. I feel stupid and shitty and bad and terrible because that's how I treat myself. That's what I think of the shadow. It just sucks. It's like, why am I doing this? What is making me feel this way? And then it says, ask the shadow, what can I do to make up for not paying attention to you? And then, I don't know what that is for me. It's like, I think just reassure myself, just be like, it's fine. It's fucking fine. Like, you're fine. People like you, and I am tearing up a little bit, but it's like, I don't know. It was just like I said, when I was watching it, I was just like, this is crazy. And then like I was doing it driving home and I was just sobbing in my car and I was like, this is really good. This movie is fucking awesome. And so, yeah, so you got to watch the movie anyway.
I mean, can I just jump in for a second here?
Yeah.
I know you're saying that like you're artificially doing these things to make people think you're a better person, but like the things that you're describing that you're doing are how I perceive you. And does that make it become true then? Like, I consider you one of the smartest people I talk to, and I have always known you to be like one of the kindest people to people that, frankly, don't deserve it sometimes. You're always the person who's trying to be the person that somebody needs, whether they deserved it or not. Yeah. That's not a common trait in people. And that's not something that I think you can fake. Like, you could do that some of the time, I'm sure. And I'm not saying I watch you 24/7, but that's how I would describe you, as this person that is incredibly intelligent, incredibly funny, and compassionate to everybody, not just the people that, like, it's not transactional for you. You're not being kind to someone because you're expecting something in return. You're kinder to the people that you'll get nothing back from. And I think that's, I think you're discounting a lot of your personality there.
Well, that's the thing, is that, like, I mean, you probably need less therapy than me, but like, that's the thing about the shadow. It's part of what forms, negative self-image, and what becomes our personal demons, right? I mean, the movie again talks about, like, the shadow is different than part X, because again, like, part X is what I constantly thought of, my lizard brain, my depressive thoughts. When I'm falling asleep, all of the worst memories come back into my head. That's a common thing. Like, people go, I made this mistake, this and that, and then people have strategies for dealing with that. But that's what's being referred to as part X. And something it does is prey upon, your insecurities, and your insecurities are what forms your shadow. So in some part, this is just something all people have. And a lot of times, I think, well, practically speaking, I think a lot of times it is not necessarily true. Maybe there's truth to it. I've made mistakes. I've done dumb things. That doesn't make me dumb, but it makes, like, me insecure about dumb decisions I've made that I would then maybe think partially contribute to me being dumb, etc. But, like, I think, like, it's not, the shadow isn't, it's not about it being real. It's about it being the construct through which your part X manipulates you. And so it's like, and so again, you're when part X is doing that, your response is to attack your shadow, to deny it, diminish it, and be like, that's not true. That's this other thing that sucks and isn't me. And it's like, no, what part X is doing, that's what sucks. That's not even anything. That's universal and nothing, and so what I am is fine and good despite my misgivings and understandings. And my shadow is just, it's my insecurities, and it's the way, it's the way I judge myself and probably other people, like, again, smart, how they treat other people. It's it's how I think good people should act. So it's and I think that kind of thing is how, religion forms. We personify things. So I think different people have different ideas of what a person should be. And then when you crank that to the max, that becomes God in some version. Even if you don't consciously think of it as God, it becomes this idealized way to be. And you can obviously go A to C and you get God. It's really clear to see that. So I think it's just an inherent part of people that just needs to be understood and managed, because again, I think the tendency is to deny it and to fight back, which even when I was dealing with it as my lizard brain before I learned about the part X stuff, it's like, no, you can never do that. Like, the best thing you can do is not engage, to not use logic or combative reasoning. Like, you can switch to like, what I do when I'm going to sleep and having negative thoughts is I start thinking of flavors and colors. I go like chartreuse, mint, yellow, banana. I just go back and forth, because apparently engaging your task solving, the task-minded centers of your brain, like, deactivates the negative self-talk centers. So it's like there are strategies to deal with it, but it comes from understanding fundamentally what the shit is, which is, again, why I think the movie is cool. But who knows? I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, and maybe I'm spreading lies,
No, and I didn't mean to, like, discount what you were saying there, because I know that's how you believe.
Sure.
And that's, I can see how that shapes you, because you are I see the reserved side of you that I think comes from exactly what you're talking about there. And that's 100%.
And that's because of stuff from childhood, like being big and fat and, my parents being like, well, yeah, you're fat and smelly. And then, being a giant kid, and it's just like people reinforce that you're different in all sorts of ways. I'm a straight white male. So the ways that I was reinforced were just being big and fat. But, everyone goes through that where they're othered and then they're like, and that starts to form, their brokennesses and stuff. I don't know, man. When you're getting really self-negative and stuff, what are the things that you go to? Like, are you like, oh, that was stupid, or like it was careless, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I replay every stupid mistake I've made in front of other people.
But like, what's your critique? Like I could be like, oh, wow, you sure said that, stupid. Or I could be, you had a stupid face, when I'm critiquing myself, so it's like, what is it?
I mean, it's more, I don't know, like if I really want to like analyze where my brain goes, it's not so much on myself. It's that like my insecurity is like that everybody around me is like faking liking me and stuff like that, or
right,
that I'm not
so like likability
positive or
right. Yeah. So that kind of seems like it comes from a similar place, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think I probably just haven't looked at it as closely as you do.
Yeah, well, I am forced to reckon with myself. I have little distraction, Like, I think, a normal person's amount of relationships and stuff would generally interrupt the amount of introspection that I have been allowed to have. Anyway,
you are incredibly self-aware, which is an asset, I think.
Yeah, it's just a curse. It's like, it is extremely arrogant, but it's kind of like the blue guy, the fucking Watchman. The blue guy, whatever. He had god powers, and he talks about how he could see all of time, but he still like can't control it because like he can see what he's going to do in the future, and he has free will, but he still can see what he does with free will in the future. Like, it doesn't change that, and I don't feel like I could see everything, but I feel like the self-awareness I have is like I just watch myself walk into a landmine and be like, well, yeah, that's what's going to happen. And it's like, well, I can't stop myself, I just see it happening. Whereas someone will go like, I'm exploding. Is that a landmine? Where it's like, no, watch me walk into a landmine, And so it's like, again, I'm not trying, like, it can sound really arrogant. I don't mean I'm like smart or anything, but just like the self-awareness of it. I very clearly see myself causing problems and then feeling bad about it and being like, well, this is what you do. This is who you are, Anyway,
do you think you've evolved over the last few years? Like, is your personality different than it is now?
I think being famous has made me a lot worse of a person, or at least tested me in a lot of ways. And I don't know that I did a great job. I think there's a lot of things I did well. But I think as like the character of my person, I think it was tested, and I think that my character has degraded. Since then, maybe I'd like to think I made a little progress, and I think just recently I'm coming to grips with a lot of things that I just didn't, and just like, I don't know, being able to calmly kind of like learn about yourself instead of like just freaking out and being upset all the time is like, it's a lot more empowering than it is negative. It's just interesting. It's like watching like a forest, like you just see animals interacting or something, and it's like, okay, it doesn't feel like, this is what's wrong with you. It's like, this is why you can't do anything. It's just like, well, this is really interesting. I'm starting to really figure this out. I don't know, and who knows if that's true or not, but I definitely feel recent progress. But generally I feel like I've become like a more venal and toxic person. I think Trump probably accounted for a fair amount of that, but just in general, like as I've clocked myself through time, that's kind of my assessment. Because I do assess myself over time from a moral standpoint.
That's the opposite of how I thought you would have said, because I think, you've just from my like perspective as somebody who watched Harmontown and listened to it from the start, and from that point, however many years ago that was until now, I think you've come out of your shell a lot. I think you are funnier, or at the very least, quicker to show your funny side, and you've gotten some confidence that's well earned.
Yeah, for sure. And I would say that those are like skills that I've developed, and I was more assessing me as God. Like if I was in like heaven being like, okay, is this guy getting better or worse, on a God scale? I feel like, like, I don't know, it was a big thing. It was part of my public persona. It's like, oh my God, Spencer, he's so unchanged. He's just the same. None of this affects him or whatever, and I think to a large extent that was true for a while. And I think that speaks to the fact that the expectation is maybe this would degrade you somehow, right? It wouldn't. It's the expectation isn't, wow, this hasn't changed you for the better. Like that's not what they're saying, And so I think to an extent I have resisted a lot of that degradation, but not perfectly. It's been a long time, and I think I've slipped, and there's just things that I learned that I thought were maybe good about myself that are maybe not good about myself, or at least mixed. So stuff about my stubbornness and maybe places I wasn't as self-aware as I thought I was, but that's different than just being a good person, how I treat people. Like I think like I used to treat people better, but it's hard. I didn't have to treat so many people in any way before. You just have to treat a lot more people now when you're interacting with more people. You can't always win. Who knows? All right, so we got to talk about our new segment. Do you want to play the new segment theme song?
Sure.
All right. That's right. It's Elon Musk Corner, folks. Oh, boy. What is that Cookie Kraut up to? And I don't mean that he's German, just that he's a fucking Nazi. That's right, folks. What, I don't know. The thing I can remember is that they're deleting all accounts that have been inactive for 30 days or longer, which is the most insane thing I've ever heard. It makes me think, oh man, maybe I'm wrong and he's not a complete idiot and he actually is intentionally just destroying Twitter for fascism's sake. Could be that, because that's just a crazy bad idea. But then I was thinking, even that could be like with Trump. It seems like a distraction from some other shit he was pulling. What other shit was he pulling? I mean, he was saying that the fucking the neo-Nazi mass shooter was like he was a false flag operation. This shit's so crazy. They're like, the Nazis are like, this guy was such a Nazi. It's suspicious. How could someone be that much of a Nazi? We're only half Nazis, and this is you expect us to believe a full Nazi exists? This must be the left. The left is planting Nazi evidence in future shooters' homes to make it look worse in the aftermath. Like, what the fuck? What are you even talking about? You guys shoot people every fucking day. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, the jury is not out. It is, you guys are murderers. We don't have to justify anything.
I mean, it's hard to side with somebody who got into such a fight with NPR over something so stupid.
Yeah, it's just all crazy. But you were saying, what were you saying about Tucker Carlson? What was this Tucker Carlson connection?
Well, so I'm not. It's kind of unclear what the connection is between Carlson and Musk, but it looks like Tucker Carlson, after he got fired from Fox, is gonna just threatening at least to just go completely torched earth on everybody around him.
Oh, you think he's gonna like do a Twitter files kind of situation?
I have no idea, but I would be very curious to see what he has on people and what other people have on him. Like if like, just everyone just piles on everybody else, that's going to be amazing to watch.
Yeah. And Kevin, Kevin's being modest here, but he founded basically a competitor to WikiLeaks. So when he says this stuff, it's a little bit more than specious. Hey, that was pretty smart of me. Specious? Jesus Christ. Did I use that correctly? Who knows? You'd have to be real smart to know that. Well, there's got to be other Musk shit. Who cares? I hate myself for thinking about it. It makes me so mad. Everybody should die. We should put that in quotes in the bottom corner of the podcast art. Like, everybody should die in like Looney Tunes font. Okay. Kevin, you were really excited about something. Is that true?
Well, I don't know if I'd call it excited. It's more terrified, I think. But
Kevin fucking woke me up at 3 a.m. I got 6 missed calls, and I'm like, "What? Are you okay? Is everything fine?" And he's like, "Podcasts. What is it? What did you say?"
Well, okay. So somebody just reminded me of this fact of like, the Library of Congress is archiving podcasts, and the Internet Archive people are also archiving podcasts and things like that, and like. There's a very good chance that like every podcast that has ever existed is going to live somewhere archived for as long as civilization holds up. Like as long as there is something that is controlling the Library of Congress or Apple or whatever, like this is our Library of Alexandria kind of situation here. So I got reminded that like you and me talking right now is going in somebody's archive that could list or could live 1,000 years or 10,000 years or however long. Like, if we don't kill all of ourselves at some point soon, this podcast is going to be living forever. Like if we become this like spacefaring, go out to the whole galaxy race, this archive is probably going to travel with everybody as they go. And our great, great, great times a million grandchildren are going to be able to listen back to you and me talking. And I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, man, that's crazy.
That's something that like never occurred to me. But like, like you can right now go to Washington and go to Library of Congress and go watch every Harmontown that we ever taped. And then in a different archive, they have in their audio archive all the audio episodes. And it's like, that's as long as the Library of Congress lives, that's going to be there.
And that's all evidence.
Exactly. Of what kind of people we are.
I gotta go. Now that you remind me, I gotta visit several state parks. Clean up a few better things. People. Yeah. So I was thinking that we should really mark the occasion. It's a special occasion that our podcast is entering the hallowed halls of the Library of Congress. So what I thought I would do is eat like a ton of raw beef. And just have the gnarliest beef farts for the rest of the podcast. What do you think, Kevin?
I mean, that would definitely let our ancestors know what kind of society we're going through right now. Yeah.
That sounds sarcastic. Are you saying you have a better idea?
I don't know. Like, I kind of feel like we should like say something to our descendants, to the people of the future, because we're at the cusp. Like, our parents didn't have a chance to talk to the future like this. Like we're the first generation to have this.
Right.
But what do we say? What do we, what do we say to people 10,000 years from now?
Do you think Drill ever thought of this when they announced that tweets were going into the Library of Congress?
He asked to. Yes, absolutely.
I wonder if Drill's actually a nice person. I have to imagine he's not, just because, I don't know. A lot of people who are really funny are often just like, I don't know, at least kind of assholes. It's like that edge is what makes them funny, but it makes, I don't know. But so are you saying okay. What you're saying, you have a good idea here. This is so tortured, but let's keep it going. But we really should commemorate the occasion with some sort of text or speech, but of course, we're so lazy that there's got to be an easier way, perhaps with an alternate form of intelligence that's maybe not entirely genuine, artificial, one might say.
Well, I mean, that is sort of the hot button topic right now that, like, I'm sure even 10, 20 years from now is not going to be a big deal, but it's a big deal to us that we're like watching the birth of AI here. So what if we have our very, very primitive, laughably bad AI write a speech for us for the future?
Well, I think it would sound a little something like this.
So smooth. Okay. Greetings, listeners of the future. We are Kevin and Spencer, your hosts from the distant past. If you're hearing this message, it means our podcast has survived the test of time and reached an astonishing milestone, 10,000 years into the future. That's really optimistic. Today, we'd like to introduce you to the concept of a podcast and tell you why you should give our show a listen.
A podcast, dear future friends, is a form of digital media that originated in the early 21st century. It consists of episodic series of spoken word content, typically focused on a specific theme or topic. In our time, millions of people around the world tuned into podcasts to learn, be entertained, and to connect with others who shared their interests.
Our podcast, in particular, delves into the fascinating world of insert your podcast theme or subject.
What the fuck?
I didn't have time to give it the backstory about what we were.
That's so funny. I love this. This is great.
We explore the ins and outs of this subject, bringing forth stimulating discussions, intriguing interviews, and a wealth of knowledge from our time. We're passionate about what we do, and our goal has always been to inspire curiosity and encourage our listeners to think critically.
I guess that's true. Damn, and what a subject we've chosen. As you listen to our podcast, you'll get a glimpse into the minds and hearts of people from the early 21st century. We believe that the ideas and conversations we share will have the potential to transcend time and still hold relevance, even for those of you living in an era so far removed from ours.
So why should you, the listeners of the future, tune into our podcast? First and foremost, it's a unique opportunity to connect with voices from the past. Our conversations, thoughts, and perspectives will give you insights into the world that we lived in and how society functioned. You'll hear about our triumphs and challenges, our dreams and fears, and our hopes for the future.
Additionally, by engaging with our podcast, you'll have the chance to reflect on your own world through the lens of our experiences. You may find that some of the topics we discuss remain relevant and thought-provoking, even after thousands of years. The timeless connection between past and future can inspire growth, understanding, and perhaps even spark a renewed appreciation for the human experience.
So, future listeners, we invite you to join us in this journey through time. As you listen to our voices from the past, you might find wisdom, entertainment, and perhaps even a sense of kinship with those who came before you. From the depths of history, we extend our hands in friendship, hoping to create a bridge between eras and remind you that no matter how much time has passed, the human spirit endures.
This has been Kevin and Spencer, your podcast hosts from the past, signing off. We hope you enjoy our conversations and in doing so, carry a piece of our time with you into the future. Until we meet again across the ages, take care and a happy listening. Play the music. That was not what I was thinking of.
The wrong one.
Perfect.
Okay.
That could not have been better. Okay, great. Okay, so that's forever. And I'm sure, yeah.
That was terrible. Okay.
Maybe the sonic signature of these waveforms can be used to determine, gunshot ballistics by precogs or something. I don't know. Does that make sense? I don't think so.
I think it does.
You're too positive sometimes. I think it's good to be positive and it's bad to be negative. But
that was very positive.
You're right. It sucked. Okay. Jesus Christ. 39 minutes. Let's talk writer strike. So, literally last episode I talked was me saying that I think a lot of people are assuming that the fight for AI is going to happen and they'll be able to get in the fight and join, and then they'll be able to beat back the tide of exploitation. And what's actually going to happen is the companies everywhere are already trying to figure out how to exploit AI and get rid of people in their jobs. And if you don't start raising a stink now, it'll just have been too late because they'll get comfortable enough to do it and then it'll be over. And then you can say, 2 years ago, you fired me wrongly and I demand my job. And it's like, no, the whole industry is dead. Like, it's like everything's changed. You can win a court battle for a couple $1 million, but you're never going to go back to that time. You're done. Like, the job is done. The industry is finished. That was kind of my negative view of the future of AI. And then the writer's strike happened. And so the writer's strike is happening for a lot of reasons. And one of the reasons, I don't think it's primarily about AI, but AI being in the conversation was a big scary part of it, because so basically, unions, they negotiate, right? I believe how it works is you have periods of your contracts and then after the period lapses, you can renegotiate for the next period for better terms. And so, you're trying to make these guild contracts better and better, so all of the union members benefit from negotiations every round. But you can't, and this was a mind blower to me. Maybe you knew this, Kevin, but you can't just strike whenever. You can only strike at certain intervals. For instance, IATSE just struck, or they voted not to strike, and they accepted a deal a couple of years ago, last year, I don't remember, during the pandemic. And part of that agreement was they agreed not to strike again for like 3 or 5 years or something. And it's like, don't agree to that. Maybe don't exploit us. What about an agreement that says don't exploit us for 3 to 5 years, and then we won't strike, within that time. But hey, if you start fucking up, it just feels convenient to powerful people that it's like, also you're not allowed to do the thing that gives you leverage. It's like, but that's the thing that gives us leverage. I don't know. Anyway, one of the things they talked about was AI, and I'll get into some of the terms more specifically, but Hollywood wanted to allow the use of AI instead of writers on some parts, and that was something we pushed back on. The Writers Guild pushed back on the contract negotiations, because unions negotiate contracts. The Writers Union is negotiating with an alliance of the big 8 studios. Let's see if I can name them: Fox, Sony, Paramount, Universal, CBS, Amazon, Netflix, Discovery, I don't know, something like that. Those are kind of the big 8 networks. There's big 8. I don't know. There's a big 8. And they have this thing called AMTPTPPPT or something. I don't know. But that's the negotiating body that negotiates with everybody. And Kevin has brought up 20th Century Fox, Columbia Pictures, Paramount Pictures, RKO, United Artists, Universal Studios, NBC, Universal, Warner Brothers, which is part of Warner Media, and AT&T. And then there's also the big, streaming giants and stuff. But they negotiate with the unions over better rates, and we sent them a bunch of proposals, and they rejected them. And part of that was AI stuff. And something I've been learning is that it's not just like writers were like, "Hey, we're hearing about this AI stuff. We want none of that, thank you." It is actually that the studios, like I predicted, have been working behind the scenes to try and do it as much as possible. They've been approaching showrunners saying like, "Hey, this AI stuff is really crazy. We can get you free, total, unfettered, fast access to the AI. We can get you one writer. We'll have you, a writer, the AI will just bang out the whole season. The robot does it all. It'll be so easy." That's like an actual pitch they are making today to showrunners in Hollywood. That's like literally what I was suspecting was happening, but had no concrete proof of. It is happening. It's been happening. So it's not just like the writers were like, "No, we're hearing about AI and we're scared of rock and roll, so we're gonna put our," it's like, no, this is actually happening. And there's different guilds in Hollywood. There's SAG, which is writers. There's DGA, which is directors. There's WGA, which is writers. There's the Animation Guild. There's IATSE, which is a lot of the crew members and support staff, drivers and such. A lot of people are in IATSE. And so there's all these different guilds that negotiate separately on different stuff. And AI isn't just in writing. If you look at acting, what Star Wars has been doing with dead people, the deep fake shit, with AI, with voice synthesizing AI, they're going to easily be able to replace actors. And that's another thing. People are saying in contracts, it's showing up. You're signing your persona, like your visual and voice rights away in perpetuity to companies just for acting in them. So they're saying you're going to act for us once, and then we'll make a puppet of you and do that for free for the rest of the time and never pay you. Like, and that's another thing. It's not just a scare tactic. That's something that they're actively courting today, so it's I've not just been making shit up. And that's not to say this would be a good way to do it. That's not to say it'll make content that people will accept. it is something they are trying to do now. So the Writers Guild is striking for a lot of reasons. I wanted to talk about some of those because I think, I don't know. I've been tweeting a lot. Probably you understand a lot about this. And just as someone who talks about the behind the scenes of writing, you might understand a bit more than normal people in general. But I just wanted to talk through it. I talked about it on my stream a bit, and I just kind of wanted to go and see if I can remember any other kind of related stories and go through it, just kind of one more time. But, we sent a bunch of proposals over, and I'm going to go over the ones that were rejected because there was ones that weren't rejected. They were just numbers. And I think a lot of the numbers are pretty insulting, but some of them are fine. And also, at least numbers are negotiating, right? If I say 5 and you say 1, at least we're talking. Whereas these other ones, they're like, they refused. They rejected it says over and over, they rejected the proposal and they refused to make a counter. This is like, they're saying we're not negotiating on this. So I think that speaks to more, writers' topics that are interesting than, everything else. So let's see. One of the thing is minimums for streaming features. So the writer's strike in 2007 was about like making up games for residuals and stuff, and writers got a lot better residuals in 2007, and they were trying streaming was just starting out, and so they were like, we need to set baselines on streaming, because prior to that it was the Wild West. I think you could legally do anything. You didn't have to pay anyone. You just said it was for internet, and then you didn't have to pay anyone. You didn't have to do any of the guild requirements. And so I think part of the 2007 writer strike was adding this kind of internet new media base rates, which are much lower than traditional media rates, but are at least baseline, whereas again before it was the Wild West. So because those rates got established, basically since then, all the studios have been figuring out how to move everything from for tax purposes, from traditional development where they had to pay real amounts of money that were already negotiated and were agreed upon for decades, to new media money contracts, which if they could force them to that, were like are absolute bare minimums, like sub minimums. They're way less. They represent a tenth or less of what rates used to be for fundamentally the same content. So a big part of the writer's strike is trying to bring back what were supposed to be protections against that, because that when we created those minimums, it was to stop exploitation, and it basically gave them green light. It said, exploit exactly this much. And they really went as hard as possible. And so we're now, a lot of it's trying to correct that kind of mistake. They've essentially used a loophole to not honor their past agreements, essentially, So one of the first ones I'm going to talk about here is streaming features with a budget of 12 million or more should receive full theatrical terms, including better initial compensation and residuals. That's literally saying you can't pay us these new streaming rates for a streaming movie, because streaming movies are just movies now. You can't. That's just cheating, and so they countered with a lot more strings. Well, we'll treat you like a real thing if you fulfill this high, 96 minutes, $40 million budget. And so it's like, yeah, that's not going to accomplish, it's not going to do it. It's not going to apply to most of the things we care about, right? Guaranteed second step. So it's kind of hard to explain what a second step is, but usually when you pitch an idea, right? And that happens for free. You do that for free. And if they like your pitch enough, they'll give you money for a development deal. They used to pay for a pilot, and now they do a development deal. And a development deal is kind of like a halfway pilot where they don't have to commit to it. And so a two-step deal is like there's two steps to the development deal, and at both points you get money. So a two-step is saying, I'm going to get money at 2 points during this process, a process that can be very long. I've been in a development process that's been over 3 years. It's, I believe, a two-step deal. But that means through that 3 years, they only get 2 payments for all of this work, this whole period of time. And that's what we're supposed to live on as writers or whatever. A lot of writers can't live as writers. They have to be shared, their partner works or they have second jobs, And so require a two-step if it's less than 250 of minimum. So that means if it's a big enough project, you don't have to require this two-step. But if it's a small project, that means minimum wage writers, the lowest class of writers, if they're doing something, you got to do a two-step. You have to pay them reasonably, because what happens is usually they pay way out in the end, or they just don't pay at all, and they just get you to do a bunch of fucking free work because they don't have to buy a pilot like they used to. So that's another thing we're trying to kind of get back to where it used to be. Rejected our proposal, and then countered by offering meetings to educate creative executives and producers about screenwriters' free work concerns. So they're saying, oh, you can have meetings with us and we can talk about these issues. But it's like, okay, sure, but we're talking about the issues right now, and there's a contract negotiation, and this is what we're offering. And you're saying, how about you sign an agreement that doesn't respect any of your concerns, but instead you come to meetings with us after you sign the agreement and you complain to us, and we'll tell you to fuck off and you'll have no bargaining power. What about that? And so it's a real insulting counter proposal. Weekly pay, 50% pay upon commencement and remaining 50% to be paid out weekly over the writing period. Applies if writer is paid less than $250 of minimum. Writers above this threshold have the right to opt into weekly pay. So this is, again, 250 of minimum. That figure means we're only talking about the lowest paid writers here. This is like a lot of, like, when you think of a writer, you're thinking of someone who makes way more than 250% of minimum. But most writers don't. On Doughboys, which you should listen to Doughboys, but Nick Weiger is a writer and he's in the WGA, and he said that, I want to say in 2006, but pretty recently, about a third of writers made minimum rates for writers. And right now, half of all writers make minimum rates for writers. And a lot of the rules that they're trying to change, and a lot of the things they're trying, the networks are trying to do, are going to raise that percentage to probably 90+% of writers would be making minimum wage, minimum, not wage, but minimum writers rates, rates. Jesus Christ. And so it's like a series. It's not a matter of like these people that are making tons of money. It's like the people that really can't afford to be writers, but have the talent to be writers, being made. So another example, Harmon Quest. There's different payment schemes throughout Harmon Quest, but in general, when I got paid for Harmon Quest, how it worked was I wrote it. We went through notes processes. Then we had to set up the production. We had to rent the studio and get people to come to the show and buy air conditioning and black sheets and get camera crews, and then we shot it, and then we started editing it. And during the editing process, we hit certain production benchmarks. And when we hit one of those benchmarks, it triggered a process starting at, I would now start to get weekly checks, something like 10 weekly checks. And once that process started, I would start to be paid for Harmon Quest. And that would happen for 10 weeks because there was 10 episodes of Harmon Quest. And then that would be it. That would be my whole thing. And I wouldn't get paid up till that point. So, you need a cushion of money to last until you get paid as a writer, because you're just not getting paid right away. But what this proposal is instead of that, just pay 50% up front. And then the back 50%, you can pay that out weekly over the writing period. And that's very reasonable. Presumably, they have the fucking money already. It's not like they don't have the money. Just give it to us earlier. Rejected our proposal, refused to make a counter. It's like, what's the problem there? You want people to be like just less able to pay their fucking rent? Like, that's the only thing you could want. Like, there's no reason for that. Establish streaming minimums. So this is establishing a streaming minimums that are more in line with traditional TV minimum rates, and getting them in line with getting streamings more in lines with that. And then they talked it down, but they did actually counter. They didn't reject the proposal flat out. Preserving the writer's room. So the thing has been talking about as mini rooms. I think there might be some sort of minimum in the contracts already. You can only have so many writers, but there's all sorts of ways to break that and go around it. And it's just, I don't know, it's hard. Like, you probably listen to Dan, a bunch of writers get in and they talk about stuff. They crunch all sorts of problems. It's, it's not backbreaking labor, but it's time consuming and it's hard. It's draining. It helps to have multiple people in the room. And as the season progresses, you finish outlines, and when you have the outline, you send a writer out to draft, so that writer stops being in the writer's room. And the writer's room splits anyway, because you can't just work on one thing at the same time. You got to work out on a lot of things, so on Rick and Morty, there would be one room working on one episode and one working on another episode, and sometimes you'd have a mini room split off to do jokes or something. So then when you start pulling writers away to be off on draft, then like really it's just like showrunner and maybe one person is doing a lot of big jobs. And so that's another thing that the writer's room, these mini room requirements are trying to solve. But what's essentially happened is they figured out that they can say, oh, it's not a writer's room, it's a mini room, so you're only going to hire 4 writers at minimum wage, or not minimum wage, sorry, base rates, minimum rates, and they're going to work for 2 weeks, and you're going to write 12 episodes of television. And so we're only going to pay 4 writers 2 weeks of work to write an entire season of television that normally would have been like, say, let's just say 12-week process. I don't know, maybe that's a bit long. But what would normally be 12 writers in a 12-week process becomes 4 minimum rate writers in a 2-week process. And they just call it a mini room so they could do that. And they're making the same show. That's the thing. They call it a mini room. They're not making mini television shows. Like, it's like they're making the full show with less people and less time for less money, and just saying that's the new normal. And so that's, again, one of the reasons why the minimums, the amount of writers that are working for minimum is increasing so much. So we asked for minimum of 6 writers, 1 writer per episode up to 6 episodes, then 1 additional writer required for each 2 episodes, after 6 up to a max of 12, which that's like smaller stuff. You need less writers. We're being reasonable here. We're not saying you need a ton of writers every single one. It's like, we recognize that the bigger the ask, sometimes you need more people on it to save time, and then also just the duration of employment. So we asked for guaranteed at least 10 consecutive weeks of work. Like I'm saying, they're trying to get people to write entire shows in weekends and then pay them a weekly rate. It's insane. Post greenlight rooms. What about writers on staff must get 3 weeks per episode? Half of the minimum staff must be employed through production. Production is the shooting process. So employed through production means the writers are being employed while the show is being shot. 1 writer must be employed through post-production. So let's talk about writers and productions. You want writers on set to talk to the actors, because the writers are the only ones that actually know what the show is. In movies, the director knows a lot more what they're shooting, but in television, the directors are kind of just guns for hire. They show up, they look at the script, and they kind of just do what the normal thing to do is. They kind of follow everyone else's lead a lot more. And so having a writer on set can be really important, because what if someone doesn't know what the show is about? What if there's a joke they don't get? Like, it's just an important thing. It's always happened, and they're just they've gotten to the point where they just don't pay writers to do that. So writers are doing that for free because it's important service to the work being done, and that's not fair. And the same thing with post-production. A lot of times it's important to have writers to be able to rewrite stuff in post-production, but they're not employing that. So the writers also do that for free, and that's not fair either. What else? These are some base weekly rates, getting more in line with television. They're saying fuck off. All of that stuff I just said. The mini room stuff, rejected our proposal, refused to make a counter. So they're not even accepting any of that. And not even just saying like, oh, minimum 1 writer or something. They're just like, no, fuck you. Pre-greenlight room weekly services paid at 25% premium. So this means, this is again about mini rooms. That's saying if you're only hiring me before the show, you have to pay more, because this is a fuckery. You're trying to pull something, so you have to pay more for it. And then MBA weekly minimums during post. This is again about the post-production, keeping people, employed during that process when they need to be. Rejected our proposal. Residuals, let's set up streaming residuals. Rejected our proposal. High budget programs, like high budget programs made for video on demand get real TV weeklies and script fees and improve residuals instead of these new streaming numbers, which are way lower. It's treated like real TV. Rejected our proposal, refused to make a counter. Each member of a team gets P&H contributions as if they're writing as an individual. P&H means pension and health. writing teams is something that happens in the business. It happens for beginning writers a lot, but you basically pretend to be one person. So the business can hire you for the price of one person, and you take half the money. So you're twice the price. You're a double deal essentially. That's the argument you're making. You're selling to the businesses, we'll work twice as hard for one paycheck, and you're selling to yourself, hey, I'll get more jobs and I'll only take half the money. That's the trade-off, But it's hard to get writers or like health insurance, and in a lot of these guilds, acting guilds and stuff, you can't get health insurance if you don't work a certain amount of rate. So again, with mini rooms and stuff, they're trying to reduce the amount of times anyone's working so they don't have to pay healthcare benefits to people. And the people hurt most about that are writing teams, because they only count as half a writer, so they count as getting half of a healthcare plan. You can't get half of a healthcare plan, you can't sign up for half of a healthcare plan, but that's what they're being offered essentially, and that's not fair. I think it's reasonable to say, well, you can't say this whole agreement is you only pay us one person amount of money for two people amount of work, and then turn around and say you have to pay us two people amount of work. That was the whole idea. I get that, but we're talking about healthcare. People just need to live. Like it's not about fucking money. Rejected our proposal, refused to make a counter. Regulate use of artificial intelligence on MBA cover projects. AI can't write or rewrite literary material, can't be used as source material, and MBA covered material can't be used to train AI. Rejected our proposal, countered by offering annual meetings to discuss advancements in technology. So again, remember the last meeting? Again, sign an agreement saying we can replace you with robots. And in return, every year we can have a meeting where we tell you the new robot that's replacing you. That's not a counter. It's a slap in the face. So, there were things that they have come to an agreement on, but none of that changes what is fundamentally this paradigm of they're subverting the existing contract, and they don't want to be held accountable for it. So it's not just, the thing is, there's just a lot of fucking assholes in Hollywood. So you're going to see a bunch of people that are probably rich and bitching about stuff in a way that makes all writers seem like shitheads. But there's a lot of writers that are really, really struggling, and they're working really hard. And a lot of them are people of color or from marginalized communities, because they're the ones that can be exploited the most. Because in the Hollywood, one of the biggest powers you have is saying no. They tell you can't say no, and you go, well, still no. And then they go, oh, okay. And then they treat you like a person. But if you don't know to do that, they won't treat you like a person. And, so the people, it's everybody gets exploited as much as people can. So it's not just the hoity-toities. It's everybody. And I'm not a poor person. I've made a lot of money in writing and stuff, but a lot of that isn't because I'm a writer. It's because I'm an executive. And because I'm an executive, I'm treated like a suit, like David Zaslav and his executives are treated. Like they just are willing to hand out money to people that are what we call above the line, which is to say executives, because they are treated as the aristocrat. Like we're the upper class. And so they're like, yeah, we'll pay tons of money to the upper class. That's our buddies. But we're not going to pay any to the people below the line. That's our business, is exploiting them. So I have made money, but not through a writer, through being an executive and taking advantage of being what is essentially this aristocracy class. And I have run into a lot of the same problems writers have when I've tried to encounter writing as a normal writer and not as above the line. So I'm not trying to say like, oh, woe is me, because that's not what this is about. I really, you guys know me. I'm a political guy. this is right. It's what's right. So I'm talking about it. And it's not about me, but it's happened to me too. So I know what they're talking about, and I don't know what I'm talking about either. Like, I'm not the Hollywood mogul, I'm just a guy. But I like talking about it. I'm smart. It's cool. And hopefully this could be helpful. If you want to explain to stuff, the AI thing is a big part of it, and it's a lot more. Sorry, Kevin. How did you feel that last hour?
I learned a lot, actually. I'm really glad you talked about this, because it's a whole side of this that I've just never been exposed to. Like, I think people not in the industry have this whole idea that it's just money rains down from the ceiling when you get on a show, and it's all unicorns and rainbows and everyone's happy.
Yeah, and I think the problems are like it's all venture capitalism. I mean, what venture capitalists do is they buy something, they change it up, and tech bros and big tech is the same way. They buy something top down, they start changing it, they ruin whatever it is, and everyone who actually did the work gets fucked, and then they get a different job, you know? So like I think it's happening fucking everywhere, but it's happening in television, it's happening in media. Like I think what Netflix is doing with their streaming model is very similar to what Uber's doing. I think it's all happening everywhere. It's all happening everywhere because it's all the same thing. It's like we're not disparate. It's all the same problems are just happening to everybody one at a time, you know? And I think AI is the same thing. I kind of lost my train of thought. But I was going to say that I just think that there's a lot of specifics of writing that you don't think about. And I think in the absence, you think it's like you think about the higher level people and not, you know, the people that are screwed. And in Hollywood, just a part of this disruption is it's been a disruption in the cultivation of quality and talent. It's been happening in actors where no one wants to take a risk, and it's because these fucking money people, these big tech bros that look at numbers, they're like, oh, you know what actually is good when we have a white male lead, you know? So like but it prevents them from casting, you know, young talent to become the new stars, the new Chris Pratts. So they're not cultivating new talent, especially people who aren't white and aren't male. And if they're not cultivating new talent, we're not getting new stars. And if we're not getting new stars, then who's commanding higher rates? Then they can just start paying all who are the biggest stars, your Jenna Ortegas, you know, your Zaddies, what's his name? Fucking the Mandalorians.
Pedro Pascal.
That guy's, you know, they're gonna, yeah, Pedro Pascal. They're gonna be those people who should rightfully be Chris Pratts and are getting close. They're being unfairly kept down because of this numbers, this robotic thinking, and that's what's infected writing now. It's just happening everywhere. Is these people are like, what if we don't make any risks and we just do the same failing things over and over, and then the business failed, and then I make $500 million and get a new job. Like, and it's like, no, that's actually a really bad idea. But it's just, yeah, whatever. That got away from me a little bit too. Sorry, Ariel. Is Ariel around?
Yes, she's here.
Do you guys want to try some Twix? Why am I calling it Twix? They're Kit Kats.
That's quite a segue there. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna grab mine. You guys do whatever.
Okay. So we got some Kit Kats today. Did you have a game in mind for playing them? Oh wait, Spencer can't hear us. Hold on. Yeah, did you have a game in mind for us to play this time, or did actually? What's up, Ariel? How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. How are the dogs?
They're great.
Yeah.
Louis is getting so big and Freya is getting into everything. So they're good.
They went from like little pocket-sized dogs to Louis like 75 pounds now.
Yeah, that's why I like little dogs. Maybe it's just because it's so depressing. It's like you were so small and now you're giant. But yeah, my parents one time, they got two Great Danes. One was like a puppy and one was older, but the puppy would just get into everything. He'd rip everything apart all the time when we would leave him alone. And so we had to get rid of him. And then we got rid of the other one. My parents half-assed a lot of things. This is something I've discovered. Sorry, Ariel. How do you like having a dog? I've been good. You know, I've just been, I don't know, man. I've been unexpectedly good. I think things are not good, but I'm zen about it, and I think they could become good soon, even though there's no reason to believe that, which is not usually how I am in life. But hey, I'm not gonna make it worse for myself, right?
Yeah,
just make myself miserable to balance. Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of how I am. But shit. We had Kevin, play the Kevin Steele song.
Okay.
Sorry. That's right, folks. It's time for What Kit is Cat? That's right. I didn't think of a name before I started this sentence, and I still had to come up with one. But we're going to play a new Kit Kat game that requires two people to be in the room at the same time. So I think this could be perfect for you two, huh?
Sounds good.
Okay, so here's how it's going to work. I'm going to explain this. So, okay, one, how is this going to work? I didn't actually finish thinking this through. I got enough of the way that I was like, I think this is going to work, and I stopped. But okay, so one person secretly grabs a Kit Kat, and they look at the wrapping, and they try and guess what the flavor is and explain what they think the flavor is. You don't tell them what's on the wrapping or anything. You know, if it's like it's chocolate, you don't say it's brown, but you say, I think it might be chocolate, you know? And then you open it so they can't see the wrapping and give it to the other person. And the other person has to taste it, and then they have to describe what they think the flavor is, right?
Okay.
Without seeing the wrapper. And then that person has to come up with a wrapper that they think would be good for the candy. It's the best idea ever come up with.
Okay.
So who wants to go first?
Okay.
All right. I'm not gonna look. You pick one. They're closer to her.
Okay. So you're gonna secretly, look at the packaging and then
show it to the camera
taste it. Oh wait, no, you don't taste it. Okay, perfect. Okay, so what flavor? Now that you've looked at the packaging. Now secretly open it and explain to Kevin what you think the flavor is to Kevin.
Without tasting it?
Yeah, just because you looked at the packaging, right? So what do you think it is?
Okay, so at first glance, I honestly thought it was something to do with lemon.
Mm-hmm. So you think it's probably lemony?
Yeah.
And do you have any suspicions that it might not be lemoning, or are you committing? Are you like, lemon
so
for sure?
It might be either lemony. I want to say lemony snicket so bad.
It could be lemony snicket.
Yeah, it could be lemony snicket. Or it could be like dark chocolate, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now Kevin, you're going to look away again and have Ariel open it, and then once it's open and he can't see the wrapper, you're going to hand him the opened candy. Does that make sense? And you can eat one if you want, because it's two if you want. Because it doesn't matter.
Okay, it smells like Easter chocolate. You know what I mean, like an Easter bunny.
Mm-hmm.
A lot like that,
like a classic chocolatey smell.
Yeah. I'm not getting lemon.
I know what it is.
What do you think it is, Kevin?
It just tastes like milk chocolate.
Okay, so before Ariel reveals what she thinks it is, Kevin, you have to now construct the packaging. What do you think the packaging was based on the flavors that you did? No, don't look at it. Don't look at it. Don't show it.
Oh, damn!
I didn't look. I didn't see.
So now, because he doesn't know, right? But now that he tasted it, he's gonna try and guess, and then we'll see what it actually looks like and what he thought it is. You know?
I mean, I'm gonna guess based off of the taste and the description. Like, I don't know, like a cup of coffee with one of these dunked in it, maybe. Or something maybe more abstract than that.
Right. Okay. So what is it now, Ariel?
Okay. Show me.
It's a blue package, right?
Yeah. Okay. What's
So it doesn't say anything on it, and I'm never going to be able to figure out what it is. But
it's like a yellow ribbon. Is that a bottle? Oh, what is it?
It's a bow.
That's a bow. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
What's the flavor?
Okay. So I think it's supposed to be Christmas, and it's supposed to be cranberry on the inside and chocolate on the outside. And if I'm wrong, I'm going to be really surprised, because the wafer on the inside was pink, and which doesn't usually happen. And it tasted like
it had that tartness, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it had tartness.
It
was like almost strawberry, but it didn't make sense to be strawberry, so I switched it to cranberry.
I will translate what this is and edit it into the podcast to say what this actually is. So we're not going to know right now, but our listeners will know what it was.
Yeah.
Well, Ariel's first instinct was right. It is a chocolate strawberry holiday cake.
Holy crap, I can't believe that was the flavor. Whoa.
Wow.
Oh my God.
You're right.
Oh my God. Okay, we have time for one more round in the other direction. You think we can do this in the other direction?
Yeah. Okay, don't look. Okay. Oh wait, that says what it is. Hold on. Okay. All right. So I'm not going to let her see, but this is what it is here.
Yep.
Okay. All right. My guess.
I can open my eyes now.
Yeah, you can open your eyes now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My guess is going to be that it is. I'm going to say pineapple.
Ooh.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So close your eyes again and let Kevin open it.
Well, what if I open this?
Mm.
And I'm feeling pretty confident. See, I didn't have to think this all out. I did get far enough to assess that it was a decent enough game for our purposes.
All right, let's look.
All right. Is it normal colored?
It is. It's like a normal chocolate.
Yeah, normal
No,
chocolate.
it's dark chocolate.
It's,
light inside.
But it's got an odd smell to it.
Odd smell.
An odd, not food smell, I would even say.
You think you can guess what it tastes like, Ariel?
Yes.
Okay.
I can't, because I'm over here. They got to invent smell-o-vision, you know? Remember smell-o-vision? Oh, they did actually invent that.
In Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You have a take?
This one, I would say this one is milk tea.
Milk tea. So what would be a good label then? What color would be a good label?
I already seen the color of the label.
I know, that's why it's a funny question.
You can cheat, it's fine.
But also it's also not about getting it right. It's also just about coming up with one, you know?
All right, so this is what the wrapper says here. You can see why I thought pineapple possibly, because of the lines a little bit, but it's not. It's not at all pineapple.
Oh, it might be dos leche or whatever you say.
Oh, tres leches?
Oh, or like caramel.
Yeah, like a caramel?
Because it kind of looks like that.
Okay, I'm gonna
like the
I can't
on
tell.
Your top of your Starbucks.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like a latte with like a drizzle on the top kind of thing. You know, I think you're right.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna edit in
like
right
a caramel
here
macchiato kind of situation.
What this is. I think you're right though.
Well, she was right again. This one is melted caramel drizzle.
Yeah, I knew it would be that. All right. Okay. Well, I think I don't know. Do you have anything to say, Ariel? I think we're about done here. I just, I don't know. We only got to talk to you just a bit,
I heard you guys talking about AIs.
Yeah. What do you think about AI? Have you messed with Kevin's AI at all?
No, I'm really not into AI stuff because I think that we're getting so far away from like how we're supposed to be living.
Yeah.
I have like I'm really into conspiracy theories and like I know like.
Do you think it's the reason it's bad that we're getting away from nature is because we're going to be hijacked by bad people, or do you think it's like there's health effects that people are hiding from us?
It's just for wrong.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think it will be used for wrong.
It just like okay. Oh, I'm not even gonna say
I think it's gonna be really bad.
Never mind.
But it'll also be good. I think you're right. I think a ton of bad shit's going to happen.
Yeah.
I just hopefully other good stuff will also happen. I don't know, but I agree.
Yeah, I hope good stuff will happen as well, like for like hospitals, but I don't know how AI is going to necessarily help in hospitals, but we'll see. Like I hope
I know a guy who diagnosed his cat's health problem using AI. Who knows if it was right, but it can help in medicine for sure. It's like to me it's like there's a lot, like, again, there can be good stuff.
Yeah.
But a lot of bad stuff too. But Kevin, I know we didn't prep this, but I did send you a video of an AI kind of video. I think this might convince Ariel that AI is actually good. Do you think we might have to edit this?
Okay, yeah, I don't have that queued up, so we're gonna just edit this in right here, right now, and Ariel's gonna react as though she saw it.
Okay, hold on.
I wish I had Ariel's real reaction. Christ, we got to get out of here. That's our show, everybody. Bye.